In this video, we'll examine 11 destructive habits that silently limit your potential. And most importantly, I'll provide you with practical tools to overcome them. Habit number 1, procrastination. Procrastination is not simply laziness. It's the destroyer of your ambitions and aspirations. What happens in your brain when you put things off? The release of dopamine from instant gratification creates an illusion. You experience short-term relief but pay for it with your future. Interestingly, our brains expertly create excuses. I'm not in the mood. Now ISN at the right time. I'll do this when I feel ready. All of this is self-deception that we convince ourselves to believe. Now for the most essential part, how to defeat procrastination. The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately, without any exceptions. Break large tasks into micro steps. Apply the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of complete concentration, then 5 minutes of rest. Create an accountability system. Share your plans with friends. Set clear deadlines. Make a public commitment. Reward yourself for completed tasks. Your brain needs to establish a connection between action and pleasure. Visualize the consequences. Imagine yourself a year from now if you continue to procrastinate. Then imagine yourself if you start taking action immediately. Habit number 2, comparing yourself to others. We constantly observe other people, their successes, perfect photos, and impressive stories of achievement. We begin to feel that our own lives aren't valuable or interesting enough. Now, let's analyze what happens to your body when you compare yourself to others. There's a release of cortisol, the stress hormone. Your self-esteem decreases, and anxiety appears. We constantly compare our worst moments with other people's best moments. We only see the tip of the iceberg, but we don't notice all the difficulties and failures hidden beneath the surface. How can we break this vicious cycle of comparisons? The first step is acknowledging the problem. Every time you notice that you're starting to compare yourself, pause and ask yourself, am I really seeing the complete picture of what is happening? The second crucial stage is to begin systematically recording your achievements. Every day, document at least one small personal victory. Third, develop personal criteria for success. Not the standards that society imposes, but those that matter specifically to you personally. Fourth, practice daily gratitude. Every morning, identify 3 things for which you feel grateful in your life. Fifth, use comparison as a tool for personal growth, not as a method of self-flagellation. Habit number 3, information overload. Our brains are literally drowning in an endless stream of news reports, personal messages, social media posts, video content, and emails. We're haunted by the fear of missing important news, falling behind trends, or dropping out of the general information space. Let us consider what processes occur in your brain during excessive information load. Memory quality decreases, concentration levels drop, and decision-making ability deteriorates. You can effectively work with this problem. The first stage is implementing an information diet. Select 2 to 3 main sources of information for yourself and completely exclude all others. The second step is to set clear time boundaries for information consumption. For example, check social platforms exclusively twice a day, morning and evening. The third recommendation is to practice digital detox. At least 1 day a week, completely disconnect from all information channels. The fourth piece of advice is to apply the principle of necessary minimum. Ask yourself, will this information really improve the quality of my life? If the answer is negative, ruthlessly cut off this data source. The fifth recommendation is to develop a personal information filtering system. Use RSS aggregators, customize notifications, and form lists of priority sources. Let technological solutions work for you, not the other way around. Habit number 4, living in the past. When you endlessly replay past events in your mind, you deprive yourself of a fulfilling present. What happens when a person becomes fixated on the past? You lose connection with the current moment and miss opportunities that are right in front of you. How can you break free from this mental trap? The first step is mastering the practice of mindfulness. Every time you notice yourself immersed in thoughts about the past, gently bring your attention back to the current moment. The second method is the here and now technique. Actively use all your senses. What do you see around you? What sounds do you hear? What physical sensations are you experiencing? This simple technique effectively returns you to the present. The third technique is to create a personal ritual for letting go of the past. Write down on paper everything from past events that troubles you. and then symbolically release these feelings. You can tear up the paper or burn it, observing, of course, all safety measures. The fourth approach is to practice gratitude toward the past. Every experience, even negative ones, taught you something. Find these valuable lessons and express gratitude to the past for them. The fifth recommendation is to form an inspiring vision of the future. When you have a clear and attractive goal ahead of you, the past naturally loses its power over your consciousness. Habit number 5, fear of failure. 99% of what we fear never actually materializes in real life. Let's analyze this more deeply. What does failure represent from the perspective of Stoic philosophy? It is merely specific information. It is data indicating that a particular method doesn't yield results. And that's it. No life tragedy, no devastating catastrophe. However, our minds tend toward exaggeration and dramatization. It constructs worst-case scenarios and paints frightening consequences. And what result do we get? We begin to fear not the actual fact of failure, but our fantasies about it. Here is a scientifically confirmed fact. Each episode when you allow fear to gain the upper hand, your brain reinforces this behavioral pattern. It learns to avoid any risk, to hide in the safe comfort zone. And this protective zone gradually contracts, becoming increasingly confined. How can you overcome this paralyzing fear? First, start viewing failures as an experimental process. Thomas Edison made 10,000 unsuccessful attempts before creating the electric light bulb. His famous words were, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 methods that dawn to work." Second, apply the worst-case scenario analysis technique. Ask yourself these questions. What is the worst consequence that could happen? How likely is it to occur? And finally, will I be able to handle these consequences? Third, start with minimal steps. You don't need to immediately make a decisive leap into the unknown. Begin with small risks and minor challenges. Each successful action will strengthen your inner confidence. Fourth, create your own achievement bank. Record all your successes, even the most insignificant ones. Fifth, find a partner who also isn't afraid of failures. Someone who will provide you with support, share their life experience, and help you rise after each fall. Habit number 6, dependence on approval. Let us figure out why we are so dependent on others' evaluations and judgments. It is built into our genetic structure. In primitive times, rejection by the tribe or group meant almost inevitable death. But we live in a completely different world, although our brains continue to function according to ancient algorithms. And here is what happens as a result. We begin to live not our own life, but someone else's. We choose a professional path that will impress others. We buy clothes that others will like, and even speak words that others want to hear. Now, pay attention to an interesting fact. When you exist for the approval of others, you will never receive enough of it. It is similar to drug addiction, requiring larger and larger doses. And do you know the reason why? Because you are seeking externally what should be found within yourself. How can you break these constraining chains? First step, recognize your true values. What is genuinely important specifically to you, not to your parents, not to society, but personally to you. Second, practice using your internal compass. Before each significant decision, ask yourself this question. Am I doing this because I sincerely want to, or because others expect it from me? Third, learn to say a firm no. Each instance when you refuse to do something solely for the approval of others makes you stronger and freer. Fourth, form your circle of trust, a small group of people whose opinion truly matters to you. The opinions of everyone else can be politely noted, but not allowed to determine your decisions. Fifth, practice self-approval and self-support. Every evening, find 3 things that you can sincerely be proud of today. Don't wait for someone external to evaluate your achievements. Learn to value yourself independently. Habit number 7, lack of personal boundaries. Do you know why many people today feel completely drained? As if all their energy has been squeezed out of them? The reason is that they allow others to constantly violate their personal space and boundaries. Without established clear boundaries, you are like a house without walls or doors. Anyone can enter your life and control it according to their own wishes. What happens when you lack healthy personal boundaries? You take on other people's problems and obligations. You agree in situations where you actually want to refuse. You sacrifice your interests for the well-being of others. And the predictable outcome: emotional burnout and accumulated resentment. Now let's examine what negative impact the absence of boundaries has on your body. Unceasing stress, chronically elevated cortisol levels, sleep disturbances, emotional exhaustion. Your body is literally signaling that it needs help. And what is particularly noteworthy, people who regularly violate your personal boundaries often don't even realize this fact. The reason is simple: you haven't indicated to them where exactly these boundaries lie. How can you begin to form and defend healthy personal boundaries? First step: complete awareness of your own needs. What specifically creates a feeling of comfort for you, and what causes discomfort? Where's that fundamental line that no one is allowed to cross? Second, learn to say the word no without accompanying feelings of guilt. No is already a complete sentence. You don't need to provide explanations or justify your refusal. Just a polite, yet firm no. Third, implement the traffic light technique in your life. Green light indicates what you do with genuine pleasure. Yellow points to issues requiring additional discussion and clarification. Red means categorical refusal. This simple system will help you make decisions promptly in various life situations. Fourth, practice the delayed response method. Don't rush to immediately react to requests and offers. The phrase, I'll think about it and let you know my decision tomorrow, is an excellent tool for maintaining and protecting your personal boundaries. Fifth, learn to promptly identify various manipulations. Artificially inducing guilt, applying psychological pressure, hidden threats. All these techniques are tools for violating your personal boundaries. Habit number 8, perfectionism. Do you know what common trait unites all perfectionists? They often don't even dare to start taking action because they fear performing something insufficiently flawlessly. Let us analyze what processes occur in the mind of a perfectionist. Continuous comparison of reality with an imagined ideal standard, endless self-critical analysis, constant fear of making the slightest mistake. These aren't just thoughts. They read toxic mental programs, systematically poisoning your everyday life. Now, for a particularly interesting point, perfectionism often masquerades as high personal quality standards. But there is a colossal difference between a healthy pursuit of quality and an unhealthy obsession with absolute perfection. The first quality stimulates your forward movement. The second inevitably halts development. And do you know what the main paradox of this situation is? Perfectionists often achieve fewer results than people willing to actively act, make mistakes, and constantly learn from them. This happens because perfectionists spend precious time endlessly polishing minor details instead of progressively moving toward the main goal. How can you overcome the power of this inner monster? First step: accept and implement the good enough concept. Not every action you take needs to meet the ideal of perfection. In most cases, 80% of the maximum possible quality is more than a sufficient result. Second, always start with the simplest basic version. If you dream of writing a complete book, begin by creating one page of text. If you plan to launch your own business, make your first real sale. What is critically important is not the perfect start of the project, but the very fact of beginning concrete actions. Third, set clear time constraints. A specific deadline is the most effective medicine against perfectionism. When your time is strictly limited, you are forced to concentrate on truly important aspects of the task. Fourth, regularly acknowledge and celebrate intermediate progress, not just final perfection. Every step in the right direction, even a small one, is your personal victory. Don't postpone joy and satisfaction until the moment of perfect task completion. Value your current achievements. Fifth, incorporate the principle of 3 mistakes a day into your life. Yes, intentionally make 3 minor mistakes daily. Habit number 9, negative thinking. Your thoughts shape your personal reality. And if these inner thoughts are predominantly negative, what kind of world are you creating around yourself? Let us analyze what processes occur in your body when negative thinking dominates. Increased cortisol release, suppression of the immune system, notable reduction in cognitive abilities. You are essentially programming your own body to develop illnesses and attract failures. Now pay attention to an interesting pattern. Negative thinking creates a closed feedback loop. You constantly expect unfavorable events, notice only negative aspects, receive confirmation of your pessimistic expectations, and the circle completely closes. Do you know what makes this habit especially insidious? Negative thinking often disguises itself as objective realism or healthy critical thinking. How can you break this vicious chain? First step, developing mindfulness. Begin to purposefully notice your negative thought patterns. Systematically write them down. Simply observe their appearance without self-judgment or criticism. Second, master the practice of rephrasing. Transform each identified negative thought into a neutral or positive formulation. I completely failed at this task becomes I gained a valuable opportunity to learn lessons and improve my skills. Third, apply the technique of searching for objective evidence. When a negative thought arises in your mind, ask yourself, what factual evidence do I have that confirms this thought? In most cases, you'll discover that such evidence is practically non-existent. Fourth, create a personal collection of successes and achievements. Daily record at least 3 positive events, even if they seem insignificant. Reread these positive notes during particularly difficult moments in life. Fifth, implement the practice of what if the opposite is true in your life. When your brain automatically paints the worst possible scenario, consciously force it to imagine the best possible outcome. What if everything turns out much better than I assume? And always remember the profound wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Our life is what we think it is. Your thoughts are the seeds from which your future grows. Choose them consciously and wisely. Habit number 10, lack of reflection. Seneca wisely advised, every evening, ask yourself questions. What useful thing have I accomplished today? In what way have I become better than I was yesterday? This isn't just a beautiful philosophical phrase. It is a practical tool for deep self-knowledge and meaningful living of your life. What happens when you ignore the practice of regular reflection? You cyclically repeat the same mistakes. You remain in destructive relationships for extended periods. You spend precious time on things that have no genuine value to you. But it is precisely in this zone of temporary discomfort that real personal growth is born. How can you begin to effectively practice constructive reflection? First step, keeping a daily personal journal. Set aside at least 10 minutes each evening to record in writing your key thoughts, significant feelings, and important observations from the past day. Second, implement the practice of 3 fundamental questions. Every evening, ask yourself, what went particularly well today? What could have been done better? Third, develop a detailed map of your life. Systematically analyze various key areas of your existence: professional career, personal relationships, physical health, intellectual development. At what point are you now? In which direction do you want to move forward? Fourth, actively use the technique of deep whys. When you encounter an intense emotional reaction, sequentially ask yourself, why? 5 times in a row, going deeper with each question. This methodology will help you reach the true root of the problem. Fifth, apply the practice of writing letters to yourself. Compose meaningful messages to your future or past self. Habit number 11, neglect of health. I catastrophically lack time for maintaining a healthy lifestyle, you say with conviction. And I'll ask a counter question. Do you have free time for prolonged illnesses? What happens in the body when you systematically neglect your health? Chronic lack of proper sleep, regular consumption of low-quality food, absence of sufficient physical activity. All these factors can just harm your physical body. They literally destroy the functionality of your brain. Numerous studies demonstrate a direct and irrefutable connection between the physical condition of the body and a person's cognitive abilities. Approximately 80% of all chronic diseases can be effectively prevented through lifestyle modification. This isn't subjective opinion. These are official data presented by the World Health Organization. How can you begin to effectively take care of your health? First step, proper sleep. Your brain and body perform critically important recovery processes specifically during sleep. Second, regular physical activity. Simple regular walking reduces the risk of developing cardiovascular diseases by approximately 30%. This is a scientifically proven fact. Third, balanced nutrition. More natural unprocessed products, less industrially processed food, more clean water, significantly less added sugar. Fourth, effective management of stressful conditions. Meditative practices, special breathing techniques, regular yoga. Choose the methods that are optimally suited specifically for your psychological type. Chronic uncontrolled stress literally destroys your health from within. Fifth, regular preventive medical examinations. Timely prevention is always more economically beneficial and medically effective than treating an already developed disease. Now at your disposal are specific practical tools for successfully combating these harmful habits. Which of these habits have you noticed for yourself? Write in the comments. If you found this video useful, please like it and subscribe to the channel. There are more videos on this channel that will help you become a better version of yourself.